Rockabye baby in the treetop, top, 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 up in the treetop. It up, what treetop? The what, went there. It breaks, it breaks. Hope I land safely in these treetops. For 28 years, I've been cradled by the childhood memory of my mother singing Rockabye Baby to me, allowing its puckered melody to kiss me goodnight and tuck me into a security that no blanket could ever cover me with. She knew that my cries were sharps that tore through the star-speckled bed sheets of those night skies, because I was afraid that as a babe, I would tear drop from the rooftop of my tree house and fall prematurely into a bedrock-covered casket, because headstones bone mark the landing zones where one grave site fits all. And to this day, I am scared of heights. So she made sure that this prepackaged eulogy was bed-framed by the rhythmic reassurance that everything was gonna be all right. Until I realized that lullabies are just the candy-coated lies that make your dreams seem so much sweeter at night. And my mother knew the recipe well, pouring these lyrics from the sealed packets of her bloody gingerbread lips, mixed with one broken heart and the cracked shells of scatterbrained emotions cupped by the chocolate chip on her shoulder, because her husband was an overheated baker's man that took too much time to cake batter and egg beat her until her tears became the secret ingredient that I could recognize. And in the meantime, I learned how to read in between the lines of her rhyme scheme, because her black eyes were the whole notes of an upbeat tempo played by the fist-like flutes of a Pied Piper whose tune commanded obedience, or else it would rock her to sleep. I watched her count how many times she was sheared by the terror of her nightmares without making so much as a little bo peep, until I was able to see her underneath her tough skin as the lost black sheep she truly was. And I thought that maybe if I said Rockabye Baby to my mama, that my last breath would be a lying lullaby that would tuck her into a rhythmic reassurance that everything was gonna be all right. So every night I went back to the rooftop of my tree house as a piece of timber, trying to lumberjack the moon as an overhead spotlight, because after 10,221 nights of wondering, I needed to know if the same all-seeing eye that was bird watching the sparrow could really even see me like John Cena. Heights didn't scare me nearly as much as falling away from God's sight, and I was already forced to play hide and go seek behind the slopes of these walnut hills as a weeping willow with my bent knees as the boughs that were already broken. And I was hoping that every hurtful disappointment being cradled within my soul would decrescendo with me face first, as a treble clef chalk outline dotted across concrete sheet music that would granted rock me to sleep for all time. But like a scratch, to set the record straight, God tore through the star-speckled bedsheets of those night skies and told me that his ears had been pierced by the sharps of my cries since the day I was born, because they were the only true lullabies that I ever knew. But I never knew that he wanted to be acquainted with my suffering. So to show me, he introduced me to a man of sorrows, with a harmony that soared over the head of my mother Goose as a branch that was left to hang on Calvary's treetop, while his daddy said Rockabye Baby to him. He fell into linen bed sheets where he wrapped himself up in a grave for 3 days, so that up this baby would come from death's cradle with all who were still listening to lying lullabies and are being tempted to put yourselves to sleep, with all who are depending on friends and family as broken branches that you never thought would leave you hanging, with all who are being left to be rocked by their own tears night after night, knowing that they just don't hold you quite right, with all whose past is a shadow puppet trying to keep the sun's light from being shed on your life. God is covering you with an adoption authenticated by Jesus Christ as your big blood brother. His second wind is a signature breath of life, issuing a wake-up call for you to watch as death falls onto the rock of your salvation, with a rockabye from an on-high altitude that you don't have to be afraid of anymore, because even even if you fall, you can trust that you'll land in the stems of the palm branch of his hand without him ever letting you down. I know, because he could have dropped this bad apple a long time ago, but he picked me out because he loved me enough to listen to the sharps of my cries when they fell against the deaf ears of every other silent night, just so I might tell you my bedtime story. And you, baby boy, you, baby girl, can know that you can rest in peace underneath the shade of the top of the tree of life without having to die, because the only thing you'll have to put the death from this night on is the falsetto tune that the devil is still trying to play you with. And after 28 years, I refuse to let you listen to the same lying lullaby that was placed in my ears, especially when the truth is, you have the chance right here, right now, to be rocked by the hands of my